Welcome to a tutorial of Proplan YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to look at general physics, what general physics of Igcse Cambridge 0625 entails. We're going to look at key concepts that you should know in this topic so that also you can be able to have a better understanding of the concept and the subject physics. If you're new to Proplan YouTube channel, consider subscribing so that anytime I'm going to upload more tutorials, you'll be notified. Well, we are going to move deeper so that we can be able to see ideally what are the main concepts. Now, first you need to understand the SI base units, time, length, mass, electric current, temperature, and their SI units and how the instruments of measurement. Of course, for measurement of length and a straight length, you need a meter rule. Vernier calipers can be used to find diameter and diameter of small balls. Micrometer screw gauge can be able to determine diameter of very small dimensions. You need to read measurements correctly by looking directly above a ruler so that you can be able to avoid the error of parallax. You need to understand vector and scalar quantities. Understand that scalar quantities are those quantities which can be described by only size, but they don't have direction. And we have examples well illustrated here. And then vector quantities have got both size and direction. We have displacement, velocity, force, and acceleration. Under motion, you need to understand how to calculate speed, and remember, speed is distance over time taken. You need to know how to calculate acceleration. So we are going to have just a detailed discussion, especially on how questions are usually asked during exams and how are you supposed to answer and approach different questions, guys. So we shall be having a discussion all through on how you're supposed to approach different areas. And let's dive in so that now we can be able to look at motion graphs. Motion graphs is a very common area that you really must be prepared to answer because questions are usually asked here. And let's see now, how do you approach a question like this? Remember, this is a speed time graph, which means that if at all you are supposed to describe the motion of this object in the first 30 seconds, you need to appreciate here that this object has or is moving at ideally a constant acceleration. It's moving at a constant acceleration. So in order to respond to this first question, you have to describe the motion of B after 30 seconds. Initially, B was moving at constant acceleration, a straight line. But after 30 seconds here, speed becomes what? Constant. So we can be able to say, after 30 seconds, this object that we have at this point is moving at a constant speed. Also, we can say speed is constant. So that is what we are going to say there. Speed is constant. Here has constant acceleration. Constant acceleration. Just because it's a straight line means constant acceleration, but if the line is steeper, it means it has higher acceleration. So ideally you need to understand that. Then let's move to this next question here. What are we told? Let's see, what are we told here? We are told that a battery provides energy to an electric car. The electric car has acceleration of 2.9, and when it moves from rest, The combined mass of the car and its driver is 1,600 kilograms. Calculate the time taken to reach a speed of that. Calculate the time taken to reach that particular speed. So the first thing that we need to understand in this particular question, we are given acceleration, and we need to remember that acceleration is equals to final minus initial over time taken. And since this was moving from rest, it means the initial was 0. So we are going to have acceleration, which is 2.9 is equals to v over, in this case, the final speed is 28 over t minus 0 here. So if we are subtracting 0, that means that our t, if we make it subject, we shall have 28 divided by 2.9. So if you put and plug that into the calculator so that we can be able to get what the answer is, then we are going to get that at that case, that is going to be 28 divided by 2.9, which is going to translate to 9.7 9.7 seconds. So you must understand the formula and how to use the formula of acceleration. Acceleration is final velocity minus initial velocity over time taken. So that is one area that you need to understand in general physics. The diagram shows an object of mass 2.0 on a bench, which is connected to a cord over a pulley. 2.0 object is released from rest and accelerate at this rate. The 2.0 kg and 3.0 kg object have constant acceleration. Show that the speed of the object is 0.8 after release. 0.8 seconds after release is this. So at this point, we need to now remember that v minus u over t is equal to acceleration, because we have this as acceleration and it was released from rest. Then we can be able to say therefore that 3.2, we are trying to work out the speed in this case. So we are going to say v minus 0 over time, and the time is 0.8 in this case, to give us acceleration, which is 4.0. So which means that if you are finding v is going to be 4 times 0.8, so if you work it out, you are going to get your answer 3.2 meters per second. So in the event you are given acceleration and you are given time and you are told for you to work out the speed, you can be able to work it out comfortably using that particular formula. Then I'll give you this question so that you can be able to try out question 3 and check what you are going to get. That is question 3b. Yeah, question 3b. Check if you'll get your final answer as 0.0063. 0.0063. 0.063. A card of width this is fixed to the 2 kg mass. As the 2 kg object moves to the left, the card passes through a beam of light that is perpendicular to the card. Using the speed in A, calculate time taken. So we know that speed is equals to distance over time. That's the formula you're going to use here. So since the speed was given as 3.2, since the speed was given here as 3.2, and the distance, speed is 3.2 and the distance is 2.0 centimeters, then we're going to say 3.2 is equals to the distance 0.0 0.02 divided by the time. So if you make t the subject, it will be 0.02 divided by 3.2. If you plug in the calculator, you're going to get 0.0063 seconds. Yeah, so that is what you're supposed to get. When a car is decelerating, there is a constant resistive force on the car due to the brakes. Deceleration of the car is greater than that and not constant. Explain why deceleration is greater. Because there is also even though there is a resistive force, then we are going to say air resistance. Yeah, so as it decelerates, air resistance also decrease. Air resistance decreases because as speed decreases, air resistance also decreases. As speed decreases. So in this case, this is going to affect that. In a race, a child runs 500 meters in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Determine that in minutes, in seconds, time in seconds. So this is going to be 4 times 60, then plus 20. And that is going to be converting time in seconds in minutes into seconds. We are going to multiply by 60, then we add 20, and that is going to be 240 plus 20, and that becomes 260 seconds. Calculate the average speed. You need to understand the formula for average speed. Average speed is equals to distance over time, and that is going to be equivalent to 500 divided by 260. And if you work it out, you are going to get your average speed, which is equivalent to 1.9 meter per second. Yeah, already the units are written, so we are not going to repeat writing the units. Another area that you must understand as far as general physics is concerned is the concept of mass and weight. Mass and weight is another area you must know. Mass and weight. So another concept that you must understand is the concept of mass and weight, whereby you should know the two main formulas there. We know that mass times G is what we call weight, and the weight itself is equals to mass times G. Of course, weight over G is going to be equivalent to mass. Now calculate the weight of the object here, and something that you have to put into mind is that the mass must be in kilogram before you use it. So that's going to be 5 times gravity. You can use 9.8, and if you use 9.8, 5 times 9.8, that's going to give us 49 newtons. Don't forget the units for weight. Draw the vector diagram to determine the resultant forces that are exerted here. And you can see here we are having a force of tension T, and in this case this angle that we have here is 60, so which means we can be able to shift this angle, this diagram we have here, and then we join it to the other end, and you are going to draw them such that this is this vector that has been translated to that point, but the angle it makes with the horizontal, this angle should be 60. Then now you measure that distance that we have here, which is going to represent the resultant. That's what you're going to do in order to obtain that. Direction of the resultant force, you can see the direction of the resultant force is basically acting vertically upwards, and the value of the resultant should be, you can be able to measure it, so you can say this is upwards, so upwards. So some of the question you'll be expected to do in Igcse general physics, you are going to work out question to do with density, and you need to remember that density is equals to mass over volume. But in this question we are supposed to calculate the weight of the glass, and before you work out the weight, you need to understand that you need to find the volume. Volume is cross-section area times length, and so we are going to divide this by 100 so that we convert this to meters, and that is going to be 0.02 meters, then times 0.15. And if you work out the volume in that case, you're going to get the volume being 0. So we are going to get the answer as 0.03 meter cubic. then we can be able to go ahead and work out mass. Remember that mass is the density times volume, which is going to be 2.6 times 10 raised power 3 times volume, which is 0.03. If you work it out, you're going to get your answer being equivalent to 7.8. But weight is equals to mg. And in this case, we have gotten the weight as the mass in this case to be 7.8. If we multiply by 9.8, we are going to get our final answer as 76 rather, Newton. 76 Newton as the mass. So that's questions to do with density. You have to remember those particular steps. The diagram shows a block. We have a block with a dimension, calculate the volume. So if you are given a block like that, and then you are supposed to work out volume, you need to understand that volume is length times width times height. And in this case, we are going to have 12 times 2 times 2, which means that is 12 times 4, which is going to be 48. That's the volume for this particular block, and that is 48 centimeter cubic. We are told that the mass of the empty beaker is 400 grams. Using the information, determine the mass in that. So you can see the reading here is displaying the mass of the beaker plus the mass of the liquid. So which means that mass of the liquid is going to be 1100 minus 400. And if you subtract that 1100 minus 400, that's going to translate to 700. And 700 becomes the mass of the liquid. And if you are supposed to calculate the density of the liquid, you need to remember that density is equals to mass over volume, which is going to be 700 divided by 750. And then it means that the density of the liquid is going to be 0.93 grams per centimeter cubic. So if you are supposed to find the density of the liquid, basically this is what you are supposed to do in general physics in order to find density of a liquid. Then you need also to understand how to work out resultant force. If there are two forces acting like that, one is acting forward, another one is acting backward, then the resultant force will be towards the force towards the greater the direction will be towards the resultant force direction will be in the direction of the greater force, and so direction here will be forward. Or you can say to the right. Then in order to determine the resultant force, it will be 1200 minus 900, and if you subtract this, you are gonna get 300 newtons, 300 newtons as the resultant force. Now, in the event you are told to calculate the acceleration of the car, if the car was having 500 kgs, in order for you to find acceleration, you are going to use the formula force is equals to mass times acceleration. Then meaning that acceleration is going to be equals to force, which is the resultant force 300, divided by the mass, which is 500. And if you work it out, you are going to get answer as 0.6 meters per second square. So in the event you are asked question to do with force is equals to mass times acceleration, that is how you are going to do that. And you are going to be asked question to do with extension, force and extension graphs. That is Hooke's law. Maybe a graph like this, you are asked to state the original length, initial length. When initial length is when there is no load, there is no force acting on that particular spring. So you read the value when the weight is 0, and that is going to translate to, if you try to read this, is going to be 0.12. This value here is 0.12 meters. 0.12 meters. What state what is meant by the limit of proportionality? The limit of proportionality, and which value is that acting. So we're going to say limit of proportionality is the maximum force beyond which extension is not proportional, extension will not be proportional to weight or to the force applied. Also, we can say the load. Yeah, so, and in that case, you check where the graph starts to bend. Where the graph starts to bend, we can be able to read here, which is about 10.4 newtons, 10.4 newtons around here.